As the gentlelady from Nevada, Ms. Titus, for her questioning.
Thank you very much. I'd like to talk about an issue that maybe many people don't think of as connected to Homeland Security, but it's becoming more and more entwined with some of the issues that we have internationally, and it's affecting major metropolitan areas, especially a district like mine, which is Las Vegas, and that's organized retail crime. We've seen that that involves targeted, large-scale organized theft. It's run through international criminal networks. I think the Department of Homeland Security Investigations Unit issued a report saying the average American family will pay more than $500 annually in additional costs due to the impact of organized retail crime, which is being used to finance ongoing illicit operations like human trafficking or drug trafficking. There was another DHS report that noted organized retail crime is leading to more brazen, more violent attacks in retail stores throughout the country, and many of the criminal rings orchestrating these thefts are also involved in other serious activities. So I wonder, it's an incredibly complex issue, but can you make some suggestions of how we can better address it with more interaction across government agencies or with different levels of government? Anybody?
Well, I mean, the first thing you'd want to do is prioritize it and put funding into that and have a local, state, and federal response, set up a task force to do, whether it be undercover operations, to engage, they're going to sell these products after they steal them.
Right.
There's a process associated with this, and they're doing it continually again and again and again. The other component is if you could intercept their electronic communications. Obviously, if it's an international or a sophisticated organized crime group, they're communicating amongst other members. So I think that's the first thing, and I also think a deterrent, however you want to work with the private sector, to have a deterrent at that store or at that location so it's not as easy to steal the goods.
That was going to be my question. Did you think a federal task force would be something that'd be useful in the Department of Homeland Security?
On this specific topic, yes. I do think the more sophisticated actors that are operating beyond from state to state, they're doing it in multiple states. I think a federal task force would be the answer, again, encompassing state and local resources and expertise.
I've got a bill, and it's bicameral, bipartisan, called Combating Organized Retail Crime, to give more resources to Homeland Security to go after this. So we should look at having a task force as part of those resources.
I've had task forces that I've supervised, and if you have proper leadership and resources, they can do amazing things. So I think the threat that you're discussing and you're talking about, that would be a solution with properly resourced up.
Thank you. Maybe we could look at that, Mr. Chairman, ranking member. Anybody else want to comment on that? I mean, they're stealing everything from eyelashes to power saws, and reselling it, and then that money goes into other nefarious operations. Well, then let me ask you another question. This goes back to Mr. Goldman's talk about guns, that U.S. guns go to Mexico, and that's where they're used in the involvement of a lot of crime. Mr. Blazakis, could you address how we could work better with Mexico to address this issue?
So one of the most important things that we need to do with the government of Mexico is engage with them as it relates to implementing the bicentennial framework that was put in place by the Biden administration in agreement with the Mexican government. And on this front, it's still early days, but in particular, there are three pillars where I think it's particularly important to spend our time. That is in the area of jointly working on a challenge of public health related issues, which obviously is an impact that comes from the cartel work. Doing more in the area of shoring up the border, particularly in the context of using technology. I'm not a believer of building walls and moats. I think that's, from times in the past, it didn't help the Chinese particularly when it comes to the creation of the Great Wall of China. It's certainly not going to work in a contemporaneous time that we live in today. There's a cyber component to this that we have to explore to pursue these criminal networks as well, and I think the bicentennial framework is an important place to do this work. But we can't alienate the Mexican government. I do think we run the risk of doing so if we consider certain other kinds of policy options, whether it's the FTO designation of the cartels, whether it's the use of authorized military force against cartel members across the border. I think these things will push AMLO into the arms of our economic adversaries like China, our ideological enemies like Iran, and our military foes like the Russian Federation.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. The gentlelady's time has expired.